It all started with a Christmas party at our work. My wife and I work at the same electronics company, but in completely different positions. Jennifer is the Director of Human Resources and a member of the Board of Directors. I am Bill, and work at a lower-level leading line maintenance teams. We met 17 years ago. It was Jennifer who told me about the vacancies where she worked. We've both been promoted over the years, but Jennifer has really excelled. She was bright, she worked hard, and she deserved it, and I couldn't be prouder of her. The company's Christmas party was held for the first time at a local resort hotel. The board members had access to several suites and a common room at the resort, so Jennifer headed out at midday to join her senior colleagues. I, along with the rest of the staff, joined the main party at 7 in the evening. We all joked about letting the minions in for a few hours, even if we had to dress up in costumes to do it. It took a while before I finally noticed Jennifer. And I have to say, biased or not, she looked absolutely stunning. I once again admired her beauty. She had just turned 38 years old. Her long blonde hair was curled into ringlets that framed bright blue eyes and an ever-smiling, beautiful face. She must have bought a new dress, and she seemed to shimmer in delicate silvery grace. I also noticed a new necklace that looked expensive. Damn. I needed to reconsider the Christmas present I bought that same morning. She was interacting with the senior team, and before I could even speak to her, we were asked to take our seats for the formal dinner. From a distance, I saw her sitting next to the new chief executive, Richard Jenkins. The previous owner had recently retired from that position in semi-retirement as chairman of the board. I had to admit he was a good-looking guy and was a little concerned that Jennifer was constantly smiling and laughing. I settled down to a meal with the other team leaders. They were all good friends of mine that I had worked with for many years. I don't want to brag, but we knew our stuff and maintained at a high utilization rate, despite outdated equipment that the company seemed reluctant to replace. Dinner was wonderful, and the drinks helped ensure everyone had a good time, even though they were prohibitively expensive in a fancy venue. After dinner ended, I tried to meet Jennifer again, but I was unsuccessful. When I finally tracked her down, she quickly left, saying she needed to hang out. Later, I saw her dancing with the CEO, and it started to irritate me. When she deigned to talk to me, it was already 10 p.m., and I was not happy. My mood didn't improve when she announced that the executives were going back to their living room so the employees could have fun without the supervision of managers. I can tell she was uncomfortable. Really? I had to watch you hit on another guy all evening, and now you're leaving. Who did you buy this dress for, Jennifer? I have never seen this dress. I must say, very sexy. And the necklace is wonderful. It looks so expensive. I didn't buy... She stopped, realizing her mistake. She bit her lip and continued quietly. It was a gift. You don't need to ask from whom. Do you think it's appropriate for your boss to buy you an expensive necklace? He bought everyone gifts. He's very generous and thought it would be perfect for me. So he said he should buy it. He has good taste. We must give him credit. Perhaps I should ask him about choosing gifts for my wife. I saw her panic a little. You can't. It's a private party and you're drunk. We can't have you causing problems. I'm not drunk, and we already have problems. How private is this party, Jennifer? Are all the executives there, or just you and Jenkins? She blushed and was embarrassed, but then recovered and went on the attack. Fuck you. How dare you suggest something inappropriate between me and Richard? I noticed that she didn't completely deny it. I tried to calm down and find a softer approach. Look, Jen, why don't we go home together and sort this out? I can't, Bill. The whole management team is expected in the living room. I think Richard has plans for the team, awards and speeches. I bet he has plans. And when will you want to return? I don't know. Probably later, or we will all use the suites. If the party goes late, I might stay the night. At this moment, I lost control of myself. Oh, you can do it and we'll be done. She quickly became enraged, shouted something about how I was controlling her tightly, and ran away. I saw her join a small group of managers and leave. Devastated was an understatement. Maybe I was a little hasty, but she was so out of it. I returned to the party in a daze and plopped down in my seat. Before I knew it, I was retelling the story of my grief to my best friend Dan, and soon the rest of those present at the table knew the version of events. They were all very supportive and decided that the obvious answer to my dilemma was to get drunk as hell. A little more time passed, and people from other tables began to approach me, offering sympathy. I asked Dan what was going on, and he responded by showing me his social media page on his phone. He posted a photo of us drinking beer with the caption, "Got from Christmas party to pity party, great guy and stray wife." Obviously, the post had attracted comments, and now, definitely drunk, my drugged brain thought the post was a bad idea and should be deleted. Just then, a gorgeous lady from the payroll department came up to me, gently touched my arm, and said something about how the executive director had a form for that. This didn't improve my mood. My phone buzzed when a photo of Jennifer dancing very closely with Jenkins earlier at the party appeared on the media page. The following tags were attached to the photo: bosses, close communication. This triggered an avalanche of other photos. The first one shows them talking close to each other as Jennifer looks up, looking slightly fascinated. In another, she touches his hand, and in another, his hand rests on her lower back. The last photo looked like they were about to kiss. I was shocked. I had not noticed this until our conversation. If I had any doubts about her intentions, they evaporated. The tags attached to the images became increasingly explicit: unfaithful, deceivers, during working hours, leave her. I did everything I could to drown out my feelings with alcohol. At one point, I threw my wedding ring into a urinal, and Dan and I urinated on it. We laughed after making this short video. This post received 400 likes, which is quite good because the company employs only 300 people. I knew we might have problems, but I really didn't care. That's when I got the biggest surprise of the entire evening. Jennifer came back into the room. She was buoyed by those still, at the party. She was furious and stomped towards me. I remember thinking that her face didn't match the beautiful dress. She screamed at me, asking what I was doing. "Hanging out?" was my answer, brilliant with enlightenment. She demanded that I stop posting anything about her. "Okay, will you tell everyone else to stop too?" Jennifer looked around, shocked that all eyes were on her, but was determined to get her way. "This will now stop. External clients can see these posts, and it is now a disciplinary matter." Dan, my faithful assistant, entered the conversation. "What are you going to do, fire the entire production team? We are the only ones doing anything. Anyway, won't you be busy with the chief philanthropist? By the way, where is he? If it's so important, shouldn't he be here demonstrating his outstanding leadership skills?" I didn't think it was possible for Jennifer to blush anymore, but it turns out I was wrong. Maybe purple, maybe a shade of burgundy. For once, she looked speechless, so it was a good time for me to share. "Listen, Jennifer, you didn't come and apologize. You didn't say it was all a huge mistake, and you didn't ask for forgiveness. She just came and threatened my friends. After our last conversation, I saw those photos. I had no idea that I was married to such a cheap slut, so why don't you just go back to your lover? Tell him that if he wants to fire me, I would be happy to discuss this issue outside." The crowd roared with approval, and I received a round of applause for the first time in my life. This was painful for Jennifer. Her professional image meant so much to her. I saw tears welling up in my eyes, but I take my hat off to her. She dealt with it steadfastly and quickly recovered. "I didn't do anything, and I have nothing to apologize for." She raised her head and walked away, damned if she still didn't manage to look elegant while doing it. I returned home at a very late hour, surprised to see Jennifer in our marital bed. I was smart enough to make it to the spare room before I fainted. The hangover the next day was huge. Luckily, Jennifer was long gone. Tea, pills, and water helped me feel just a little better. Even though it was Saturday, I received a message from the company secretary to report to work at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I expected Jenkins to be there and maybe Jennifer waiting to fire me. I decided to go, hoping that I could avoid consequences for my friends. To my surprise, I was greeted by the company owner and now chairman of the board, Alan Roberts. I wasn't sure if it was better or worse, but he was a tough, no-nonsense guy. He explained that the executive director and Jennifer informed him of the situation and that the media page had been removed. He said it was a very serious situation and the firm had received a bad reputation. He looked at me hard. Anyone who posted something inappropriate will be subject to disciplinary action. I started to object, but he raised his hand to silence me, explaining, "This will be a verbal warning." I tried to quickly weigh everything, realizing that verbal warnings were nothing. After thanking me, I said that they were just supporting me, really good friends. I waited with trepidation for him to fire me. "So consider this your verbal warning." "Okay," I answered brilliantly. "Nothing else?" I asked uncertainty. He smiled, and it was alarming. "There is something else." Damn, I knew it was too good to be true. Before I could guess what that something might be, he continued, "The executive director was dismissed for gross misconduct and damage to the reputation of the company." I was stunned. Wasn't I the reason that everyone, including clients, found out about this? Yes, that's true, but I see it as a clear provocation. In any case, this will not bother customers. They are guided by price, and not by some chatterboxes on social networks. I'm afraid the misconduct was caused by him and your wife. I have never tolerated this kind of behavior in my company. You should know it's not just the photos. Other executives were uncomfortable with how close they were getting. Either way, I don't like this guy, and I made a huge mistake hiring him. I mean, the CEOs get their own party and talk about how they're special. What nonsense! And that's before I even learned about his unimpressive business decisions and the fact that he was spending company money on personal gifts. He continued, "More importantly, have you talked to her?" I shook my head. "I did it this morning, and I think it's just now dawning on her how wrong her actions were. It's up to you, but maybe you should talk to her. She is suspended from work, and there is a chance that she will be fired. I need to do some more digging first. Perhaps she'll make a counterclaim and blame it all on Jenkins." When I left, Jennifer was in the hall, and I sat down next to her on one of the sofas in the reception area. "Now what?" I asked, sharp as a rapier. I heard some responses, but couldn't make out what she said. Another muffled sound, and then almost a whisper. "I'm sorry." "For what, Jennifer?" "Sorry for my behavior. Sorry for the affair." "For what, exactly?" She blushed and burst into tears. "I didn't sleep with him. There was no affair." It wasn't until I saw those photos when I was sober that I realized how bad it looked. And when I saw what you did with your wedding ring, I felt ashamed. Let's see. You spent the whole day with him. He thought he could buy you an expensive necklace. You ignored me, danced, touched him, and left with him. And you planned to spend the night with him, but you expect me to believe that it was all innocent. You must really think I'm an idiot. No, it wasn't like that. But you planned to do this, didn't you? No, yes, I don't know. I guess I thought about it. Drinking after dinner didn't help. I was drawn to him, but I tried to resist. He has some kind of charm, and everything seemed natural. It wasn't a conscious decision to do anything. It just happened. So it was the media reports that stopped you? Did they drag you out of his bed? What? No. We weren't in bed. We were still in the living room. The others left. But then we got a call from the manager who was monitoring the media to make sure there was nothing outrageous from the party. We saw the messages but expected it to stop, but it only got worse. We started to panic, and then I saw the video of your ring, and that's when I came back. It turns out that you were saved, and possibly saved our marriage, thanks to Facebook at the very last moment. This is the first time. What were you doing alone with him at that time? We mostly talked, maybe touched each other a little. We kissed. But that's all, I assure you. She said it like it was a victory statement. If that's what you admit, then I'm willing to bet there was more, and I doubt that evening was the first time you two got close. I think you've been dating, chatting, flirting, probably having lunch for a few weeks now. She shrugged in response. I know it's so stupid. I just got caught up in it all. The thing is, Jennifer, in all your explanations, you never mentioned me. Just you and him. It feels like I was completely forgotten and pushed aside. I think you're trying to change. Perhaps you think that now you are better than me, that you are the director. If so, then you should talk to me and we could move on amicably. But I don't want to move. It's not about me being better, and it's not about you. It's just a stupid mistake. I looked at her and remembered the box in my pocket, took it out, opened it, and handed the necklace to Jennifer. I was going to give it to you at the party, but I didn't have the chance, and you already accepted a more expensive and shiny one. She burst into tears, but I continued. Maybe you're telling the truth, maybe you're not. Maybe you've had sex with him for months, maybe you haven't. I'll never know the truth. And the main thing is that I can't trust you anymore. You can't be in a marriage without trust. What? This can't be right. I didn't even sleep with him. Please, Bill. This is all a terrible mistake. I could lose my job, and I have never felt so awkward as at the party. Yes, I feel the same way. I have never been so embarrassed by my wife. I thought I might lose my job, and I'm sure you are a terrible mistake. Having nothing more to say, I stood up and left her crying on the couch. When I left, I was overcome with a feeling of fear. Where will you go now? Christmas music didn't help when I left the building. It's the season of fucking joy. Just then, I got a text from Dan that he had tickets to the New Year's party, and I was going, no excuses. I managed a weak smile. I did have good friends, and life went on. I just needed a plan for how to drink less at a party. But as they say, no plan survives its first meeting with the enemy. 12 months later, I was back on Christmas party. I was dreading this moment. It was a Christmas party, and 12 months had passed since the worst night of my life. At least it felt different. The party was in a local bar, no costumes required, drinks were free, everyone mingled together, including Alan Roberts, who had never looked happier since returning to his post as chief executive after last year's fiasco. And then, I saw her. She looked stunning in a blue satin evening dress and stiletto heels. I managed to catch her eye and received a radiant smile in response. She moved towards me and we briefly kissed in greeting. We finished the kiss, and the ridicule of our former colleagues rang in our ears, as always, led by Dan, the main character. I laughed, breaking the kiss. Well, who would have thought that accountants could look so good? She answered. The same goes for you, production workers. I'm surprised that you washed all the grease and dirt off your hands. I think you had to do it. The accountant in question was Deanna, a pretty red-haired girl from the payroll department whom I had met at a previous Christmas party. We've been dating for 4 months. It's funny how life can turn out if you can handle the tough times. Now I was the production manager and a board member. This comes after we had a difficult year coping with breakdowns and a previous lack of investment in replacements and maintenance. The guys worked really hard, and we were able to fulfill orders. To be fair, we were in our element, responding effectively to every crisis. Alan Roberts was also in the thick of it, discussing what we could offer. Alas, I did not join Jennifer on the board of directors. She suffered the embarrassment of being demoted to HR advisor and left the firm a couple of months later. We divorced 6 months ago. At first, she couldn't believe that I wouldn't forgive her. But when she realized that I wasn't going to change my mind, everything went pretty peacefully. It's amazing that you can get a divorce online now. Anyway, enough about that. It was a story. It's important to learn from it and move on. So let's get back to making this the best Christmas party ever. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.